Thanks for everyone for coming along. Just to kind of introduce myself, I'm Chris. I do a little bit of work with Touché, the student magazine here. We've been asked to moderate this debate, the same as last year, to try and get a bit of discussion going around some of the issues that might be relevant to some of you. To kick off, just V wants to say something very quickly, so I'll just hand it over to her.
Hi. Oh, no. Yes. No? Okay, there we go. Sorry. So I just wanted to make an announcement that a meeting with the foundation board has been confirmed for October 31st in this auditorium at noon 12:15. But sort of leading up to that, GISA will be holding 2 meetings throughout October to sort of get everyone on the same page of who the foundation board is, who they are, and what they do, and sort of formulate really strong questions to ask them to get to know them better during this time, because this is our first time actually that the student body has been able to meet with the foundation board. So I think it's going to be really exciting, really fun. So please look out for the meeting times and dates in the next newsletter / email or Facebook or Twitter. And another note is that for the delegates, when we say transition between the old board and the new board, I'm sort of saying maybe 5 hours, because on this Friday, GISA has an obligation with the inauguration of Pedal 4, 5, and 6 that you guys are invited to come to. So if you win, please wear something nice on Friday. Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much, V. Just to go over really briefly the running order and how this is going to work, today we've got 3 positions up, communications director, treasurer, and events. We'll take them in that order. Each person will have 2 minutes to introduce their platform. It'll then go to an open discussion, 15 minutes for communications, 25 for treasurer, and 20 for events. That's based on the amount of people that are running for each position. We'd ask everyone just to kind of keep answers short, keep questions kind of focused, so we get the most out of this time. The reason that we put such sort of stringent time on it is because we don't want this to run over that long. If we keep the time, it should be under an hour and a half, which I realize is still long. But after an open discussion, each candidate will have 1 minute to make a closing statement. Just to encourage everyone to engage in the discussion. Obviously keep questions respectful as well, and we'll try and have a good debate. As with the bilingual policy, if you want to ask a question in French or English, that's totally up to you as well. So we'll start off with communications. So Craig and Chris, do you want to join me up here? Craig, do you want to start us off? So you have 2 minutes to make an opening statement.
Right. My name is Beyerinck, and I'm first year in MDev. So I'm running on a platform of contributing and enhancing your student experience, as well as mine, of course. So my platform is preserving what is good about this position, which there are quite a few things, and improving a few things that I've heard from some of my friends and acquaintances that they think that should be changed. So that means maintaining what works is all the newsletters through email and the Facebook group, all those kind of things will stay mainly the same if I'm elected. But also I've heard the main thing is that everyone wants GISA to be more transparent, so I'll make sure to communicate directly with the student body and help facilitate this, because I think this role is very well positioned to help with that. And I'll work on giving more information for student-to-student communication. And for availability, I'll be very available for everyone if you stop me in the hall, or as you might have seen, I have a Facebook group for the campaign, and I'll transform that into a place where you can all communicate with me. I am very experienced for this. I've worked at the UNAIDS UN Communications Group in Nepal, at the Attorney General's office where I took notes, Australian Institute of International Affairs where I worked with WordPress and MailChimp, both of which are used by the communications director right now. And then I've also been the admin for several Facebook groups that help the international developing jobs for young professionals, where I help administer that. Yeah, there you go.
Great. Thanks very much. Chris, you have 2 minutes to make your statement.
Okay, thank you. My name is Chris. I come from Croatia, but you could say Geneva is a second hometown to me. I'm a first-year history student. After 3 years of working in an office, I'm very happy to be back in the student life, and I'm very excited to be able to. It would be great if I could jump right back into contributing and organizing student life and student activities through GISA. Working 9 to 5, I've really missed intellectual challenges and the student lifestyle, but also the student atmosphere and the university environment. And being part of GISA is a perfect opportunity to take advantage of this multicultural and international environment. As I outlined in my platform, I believe I'm qualified for this position thanks to 3 years working at the International Labour Office as an admin assistant, and also being the president of the English Department Student Association back at the University of Geneva. Which brings me to my next point. I studied in English and in French. I believe French will be quite important for the role of communications director at GISA. So I wrote my bachelor thesis in French. I have a perfect knowledge of French, but also English, because at the ILO I worked mostly in English, and this meant communicating with colleagues in the field, emails, publications, proofreading, and formatting documents, things like that. And among my aims, well, I would also like to insist on transparency. GISA is already pretty good at that. But I think more can be done, especially, given the current situation and the sort of mini fight, or, sort of fight that's going on with the administration right now. I think it's important that GISA be really transparent in their communications, and I could insist on this with other members as well. Try to, particularly with the treasurer, work on making the budget as available as possible, things like that. And
that's 2 minutes, so just drop it.
Okay.
Please.
Just one final remark. Increasing the knowledge or information that GISA possesses, building a sort of a repository of concrete, practical information, not just a student guide, but perhaps more a repository of legal and financial rules concerning the institute and the canton. That could be useful. Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much. I should have said at the start, by the way, that Cara is timing, so it isn't her mobile phone that's going off every 5 seconds with text messages. But we actually have a last-minute candidate who is wanting to run for the position, so if you would like to join on the stage as well. I should have said at the start that, of course, this is open for any new candidates that want to declare their candidacy in the last minute, so I'll give an opportunity in the next 2 positions for people to do that. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Hello, I am the mystery last-minute candidate. My name's Charlotte, and I come from Edinburgh. I did my degree at SOAS in London and just got back from doing an internship in communications in Bangkok for the British Council. And my role there was mostly running competitions, so I'd like to run some competitions with the students and use some of the budget to get prizes for that. I like writing a lot. I like communicating with people. I like responding to your faces. This guy in particular seems to be responding quite well. You, yes, you, looking around there. Yeah. I don't know, I wrote an award-winning blog as well, so some people think I'm fairly funny, in words at least, on paper or online, maybe not so much in real life at such last minute. I thought I was going to have to leave the institute, but now I feel very grateful that I don't. So yeah, I would love to represent you all and keep you up to date with what's going on. Thank you.
Okay, so I'll pose the first question, then we can open it up to the floor after that. So obviously, by definition, communications director role is transferring information between different groups of people, students and the administration. Given the way that some of the information has been communicated by the administration to us lately, how would you plan to address this in terms of the relationship between GISA and the administration for future information that comes out through them. Chris, do you want to start first?
Well, I think the first steps that GISA has been taking from the beginning of the year have been great and actually more effective than I expected, but basically mobilizing the student body and getting letters and emails that the student body stands behind in terms of signatures. There were more than 200 people, so I think that's the main reason why Director Beyerinck accepted to actually come to the town hall meeting on Friday 2 weeks ago or so. So I think that's the best direction to take. Just if you want to change something and get a response from the administration, you need to have the support of the student body and mobilize them, and this gives GISA legitimacy. Otherwise, if I were to go to Director Beyerinck by myself, I don't think I would accomplish much. I would really first insist on gathering support, being clear, okay, I suggest to go to the administration, ABC, this is what I'm going to say, and gather support.
Charlotte, do you want to go?
Please, will you repeat the question one more time?
Yep. So, given the way that recent changes regarding tuition fees in particular have been communicated to the student body by the administration, in what ways would you as communication director work with the administration to ensure that there's a better communication channel in the future?
Continue to use the channels that we're using at the moment, and I think that public meetings are a really good way forwards as it encourages transparency. But also with the meetings, if we could arrange a way for them to be broadcast afterwards or potentially live, so that people who weren't able to attend the events could hear about them.
Thank you.
Okay. So I would first, with regards to GISA, I've heard that a few people are upset with the delay in information from when they found out about the tuition hikes and when they let the rest of the student body know. So I would, lobby all my fellow members, the members of the GISA board, to really just get the information out there as soon as possible. So that means, as soon as they find out, send out an email. But then at the same time, then I would work with the administration to hopefully make them see the point of letting everyone else know what's going on as soon as possible.
Okay, so we'll open up to the floor. Does anyone have a first question that they want to ask? Yes?
Hi.
People heard the question. Do you want to repeat it?
Yeah. Ambigits. The question's very simple. Is how do you propose to balance those ideas with the fact that's written in the Constitution of GISA that it's supposed to be an apolitical organisation?
For sure, yeah. If you think that would be useful, does a current GISA member want to explain, as in the current statute at the minute, what that means?
I think the current interpretation of the word apolitical means that we are not affiliated to any political party in the society out there that is in Geneva. We still have to do the interest of the students, but we are not like the Young Socialist Party or whatever.
I think, for what it's worth, that's my interpretation as well. That GISA doesn't necessarily cannot be linked to a political party. Does not mean that it cannot engage with political events. So maybe a way to kind of bring this question in a bit more is to sort of ask what you feel your role as a GISA representative is. Is it technical, or do you have a role in terms of engaging with some of the political changes that are happening at the Institute at the minute? And Craig, do you want to start?
Sure. I think that it is technical because it's this role is a way for GISA to get their information out to all of you as students. But I also think that it's a bit of a political role as well because because it is a good way for it's a good position for people to be able to come and talk to whoever is elected, and tell them what kind of issues they have with the information that's out there, and then I can, or if I'm elected, if I'm elected, then I can move on and bring that information to the GISA members as well, and hopefully advocate on your behalf.
Charlotte?
I feel that in this role, my position wouldn't be to have an opinion on what's going on in the role only as a person, and I wouldn't let that affect how I dealt with things. And I'd be more of a form of communication and more of a middleman than somebody on one side trying to push out to both sides my own opinions and my own agenda.
Chris?
Well, yeah, I don't think GISA should be too political or try to, strong-arm the administration too much, because, well, maybe gradually, but not immediately in any case. I see GISA more as a really representative student body to voice opinions of the students, not necessarily, create a political agenda and then try to get student support. I mean, student support and student voice should come first, and I think, the only political issue we have now is this fee increase, and that's great because that actually came from an opposition of the student body to the administration. But otherwise, when I applied, I didn't really see GISA as too much of a strong political body, but more of a representative body for student activities and to make student life more dynamic on many ways, but maybe not so much political.
So I guess obviously the opposite to being a representative body is that you take a lead on issues as well, and is that something that you don't feel is your role? It's purely representative?
No, okay, when you clarify it that way, GISA definitely has a leading role and needs to fulfill a certain leading role and provide guidance and a structure to students. I guess hierarchically speaking, the president then would come first, but I would be very comfortable also with providing my own ideas, and in my closing remarks I wanted to also add some concrete ideas that I would like to put forward within the scope of the communications director position. They're not very political, but still, definitely there should be leadership on our side.
Okay. Yep.
Sorry, can we just wait for them? Thanks. Just as a follow-up to that question, in your capacity as a representative of the student body, there will likely be instances in the next year where, as a representative, you will have to put forward issues that you will find yourself in conflict with the administration. I mean, I don't imagine that it would be easy to push through every agenda that we might want as students. And so in those situations of conflict, how do you propose to deal with what seems to be, I've been here a month, but what seems to be like a fundamental power imbalance between, what we have as students and what the administration or, the people running the graduate institute have?
Well, I suppose, this would be something that's defined by our GISA strategy, I'm not sure how it works now, but I guess GISA, in their bi-weekly meetings, there are strategy points that are discussed, and probably GISA strategy points that allow GISA to react to certain steps the administration takes. And I'm sure there are certain, situations where GISA would react immediately, and I would, in GISA meetings, I would be very happy to elaborate with the others such conditions and circumstances where we see fit. It's where we see fit to react immediately, tentatively, and then garner support, but make a stand immediately where we are very sure that this is in the best interests of the association and the student body. But this would have to be decided then with the other members, and I'm sure we could figure out our stance on certain positions where GISA would act independently and strong.
Charlotte?
Sorry, I'm still on it. With that as well, it's important that it's done in discussion with the students and with the other members of the student representatives. so that even if there are lots and lots of issues coming up, we can discuss them in turn and see how much support there is for them and how they need to put forward.
Greg?
I think I agree with what you said, and I think it's, I would definitely support being very strategic, because while there's a lot of ideas that the students might have, it will be good to be able to kind of work with them and see the best strategy to get those accomplished. It's not, we don't want to just go to the administration always complaining about this and that and this and that. It's good to really rank all of the wants of the students and then go after them like that.
Thank you for the question as well. One of the ways to, obviously, there would be a part of addressing the power imbalance that has been alluded to, is requesting representation on governance structures. We've had a letter that's gone out by 250 students at the Institute here. Is it something you agree with?
Yes, I think that if the student body has gone up by that much, then we should definitely have more representation.
Chris?
Yeah, I also agree. And in the long term, I mean, this institution, even if, like, as master students, we leave the institution in 2 years, we still will have a diploma from this institution. I think that gives us a right to have a long-term investment and a long-term interest in keeping the Graduate Institute what we would like it to be.
Me too.
Any other questions? Yes.
Thanks very much, Vi. Just a quick question, and it relates to how each of you would use French or engage with French, and or what strategies we adopt if you don't use French to think about how to communicate in a bilingual way, and or whether you think the institution needs to rethink about how it engages in a bilingual way. And, sorry, as a follow-up, how much you think the role, or would see the role as communicating about GISA and what the GISA is working towards, as well as engaging with the Institute itself on its own communication policies and strategies. I mean, that might also be a question for you to clarify in terms of the role, but I'd be curious. Thank you.
Okay, we'll take on bilingualism first. Charlotte, do you want to start us off?
I speak good English clearly, but I speak French as well. My written French isn't amazing, but that doesn't mean that I don't know people who have good enough French to communicate with. So I'll be able to find people to have everything translated in English and French as well, and for the language issue.
Craig, do you want to take the next?
Yes, I think that bilingualism is an important part of the Graduate Institute, and while I don't speak perfect French by any means, I do learn very fast. I moved to Holland without learning a word, or without knowing a word of Dutch, and I learned it within a few months. So I think that would be quite easy. And until then, to agree, I think that it's quite easy to find people that will be able to, help me along the way to translate it so it's available for everyone.
Well, I speak French, but the other point I wanted to make is that the bilingualism of the Institute, I think, is great. It's a great opportunity also for foreign students to learn French. I mean, you're in a French-speaking environment, more or less. I like the current system where English is the dominant language. I mean, it's a complete bilingualism is hard, and maybe like a bit of a pipe dream, but I definitely like the idea of keeping French as a sort of a permanent, secondary language, and I think it's a great opportunity to learn an extra language. And that's what happened to me when I came to Geneva. Years ago, I didn't speak a word of French, and I just had to learn it, and it was annoying at first, and it's not an easy language, but then I was really happy that I had this opportunity.
Okay, thank you. I'm getting the wave from Cara saying that time is up, so apologies, we don't have time to take the second question. The thing I'd say very quickly about all of this is that the elections themselves don't happen until Thursday, so there are other forums, both on Facebook. Most of these guys have their individual campaign pages as well. And obviously you can email them as well to kind of get any more information that we might not go through tonight, but for the point of keeping this coherent, we are going to stick quite tightly to the time. So we're going to finish with 1 minute from each of you to state anything in closing remarks about your platform. So, Charlotte, do you want to go first?
No, thank you.
Okay.
I can go first.
Chris.
Is that okay? Well, okay. I know Geneva, and I know the language, but concretely, in terms of building I had this idea of communications directors being a focal point for concrete and practical information, and maybe expanding on, there's a student guide that's great on the GISA website, for example, so things like that, but I would like to maybe add more to it. And I thought the communications director is the perfect role to play with this, maybe create a sort of not a formal history of GISA, but document things and put information together that will remain for future GISA representatives. So take summaries and make a file. Well, I'm sure there already is a file, for example, for the conflict now with the tuition hikes. But have a folder with note for file with what happened, a little summary that documents the history of the Graduate Institute, but also of GISA, and also practical information about Geneva and maybe legal information, things like that. And I would try and insist, as much as I could with the other representatives of the Executive Council to do the same and participate in this knowledge building. Thank you.
Thank you. Craig?
I'll keep it very short. I've outlined why I think I'm qualified, because I've worked with a lot of the platforms that are in use already, like MailChimp and sorry, now I'm blanking on it, WordPress, and I'm accessible through Facebook. I also live in Picciotto, so I'm always around in this area. I'll work with and for you, so if you have any ideas on ways that I can be more accessible or how I can work for you in a better way, I'm more than happy to work with that. And I'm also not entrenched in politics, with the current board or with any of the institute's different areas. So yeah, anyways, that's it.
Charlotte?
I think that based on these speeches, you probably shouldn't vote for me at the moment. So wait until I've got my thing online. But thank you for having me anyway.
Okay, could we